One of my favorite things about the sport of volleyball is that it is one of the biggest international sports in the world. There are so many nations all across the globe that all play volleyball at an extremely high level. From Japan to Poland to Brazil to the United States of America, all of these different countries play a different brand of volleyball that is unique to their culture. If you guys did not know, I recently had the opportunity to travel all across the world this year and follow the Volleyball Nations League. And here I had the opportunity to watch 16 of the best volleyball nations in the world compete against each other. So today I'm going to be taking my volleyball knowledge and put it to the test as I create the official Volleyball Nation tier list. This tier list is going to consist of the 16 best men's volleyball nations in the world. And I'm going to let you guys know where I think they rank and who is really the best of the best when it comes to volleyball. If you guys would do me a huge favor and hit that like button. We are on the road to 250,000 subscribers, so make sure to subscribe if you're new and comment down below what your favorite volleyball nation is to watch. Mine, without a doubt, is absolutely Japan, but the United States of America comes in a close second. So without further ado, let's hop straight into the video. Before we can officially rank all of the volleyball nations, let me explain to you the tier list that I created for today's video. At the very bottom, we have the F tier. These are the volleyball nations that just aren't quite as good as the others, and I still think they have quite a lot of things that they need to figure out in order to compete at the utmost elite level. Right above that, we have the D tier volleyball teams. These volleyball teams most likely do a couple of things well, but they just aren't a complete volleyball team, and that's the reason why they rank in this tier. Right above that, we have the C tier, which is like the middle of the pack volleyball nations. In the B tier, we have the volleyball nations that I think can compete with the best of them on any given day. The A plus tier is reserved for the volleyball nations that I think are the most elite, but not quite the best of the best. And then we have the GOAT tier, and this tier is reserved for the volleyball nations that have competed at the highest level most recently, and these are the volleyball teams that I think have the best chance at hoisting an Olympic gold medal in Paris 2024 Summer Olympics. Now that you know how my tier list works, let's get to ranking. The first nation that we will be placing on this tier list is none other than the United States of America. And just remember, I'm ranking each of these countries based off their men's national teams. If you want to see me make a video for the women's, 1,000 likes on this video and we will do so. I'm not gonna lie to you, I would say I was a little bit surprised by how Team USA performed at the Volleyball Nations League this summer. I feel like they definitely underperformed, and that was shown in the fact that they didn't even make the championship round at the end of the tournament. Out of the 3 weeks that they competed in the VNLs, they started off the tournament 1-3, then they went 2-2 and 2-2, and that just wasn't good enough to qualify for the championships in Poland this year. Despite this underperformance that they had, I still think the United States of America is a top 5 volleyball nation in the world. Their core of guys like Eric Shoji, Matt Anderson, TJ DeFalco, and Micah Christensen make for an absolutely lethal volleyball team. They have a great mix of middles that they can throw in the rotation as well, and overall I think they do a lot of things well. Now I would really like to put them in the GOAT tier, but I just don't think that's quite where they are just yet. We will see, in my opinion, changes during the Olympics, but because of that, I think they deserve the A plus tier spot. Next up, we have the nation of Argentina. Argentina currently has one of my favorite volleyball players on planet Earth right now, Deteco, the setter. He is so good and so crafty and so skilled at what he does. I just love watching him set the volleyball. This is honestly a pretty well-rounded team. They have a lot of good components all over the court, and in the VNL championships as an 8 seed, they almost took down Slovenia as the 1 seed. They came within a point of victory once or twice in that 5-set match, and it was absolutely crazy. I almost thought they were going to pull off the impossible. Now, if we're going to be honest, I don't quite think they're a top dog volleyball nation, but they do a lot of things well, and on any given night, they can compete with the best of the best. So because of this, I think that they belong in the B tier. Next up, we have another infamous volleyball country in Brazil. What I'll say about Brazil is that they're just in a really weird spot right now. It seems like they're just in a little bit of a transition period right now, as some of their established players like Bruno Rezende is getting up there in age, as he is 38 years old. And because of this, we saw some different rotations from Brazil throughout the Volleyball Nations League. When they got to Lutz, Poland for the finals, their first round matchup was against Poland. And it was pretty obvious for me as a spectator from the start that Poland was just simply the dominant team here. I believe that historically, Brazil belongs in the GOAT tier, as they are one of the most associated countries in the world when it comes to the sport of volleyball. But after what I saw with their current national team, I'm just not so sure of what they are right now. And because of that historical component, I'll actually put them in front of the United States in the A plus tier. Next up, we have my upstairs neighbors, Canada. And I will say, I was thoroughly surprised by Canada and how good they were this VNLs. They got themselves a 5th out of 16th seed in the VNLs this year, which was easily good enough to make the tournament at the end. They really are a well-rounded team, and you'll get some great play from their middles, and they have an outside hitter who looks pretty dominant out there. And heck, their setter and I share the same last name, Hurt. I don't think we're related, but I do find that to be pretty cool, and I was very impressed that they were able to get a 5th seed amongst the rest of the Volleyball Nations this year. However, when they got to Poland, they got pretty easily handled by Japan, who ended up being the runner-up for the tournament, so you do have to take that into consideration. I just think when it comes to Canada, there's not really anything that just pops out at you, but I honestly think that they are well on their way to creating a volleyball powerhouse, so I think they rightfully belong in front of Argentina in the B tier. Before we hop any further into the Volleyball Nation tier list, I just want to take a chance to thank the sponsor of today's video, VKTRY Insoles. As you might be able to tell by the footprints embedded in my pair of VKTRY Insoles, this is a product that I absolutely love using for the game of volleyball. VKTRY Insoles have quite literally been a game changer for me on the volleyball court. This is because they are the world's best carbon fiber insole. In most volleyball shoes, this is what the stock insole usually looks like. It's just this flimsy piece of foam that's offering no support for your foot whatsoever. And because of this, not only are you not jumping nearly as high as you could be, you're also not protecting yourself from possible volleyball injuries. So that's why we get rid of this and we replace them with these. Ow. VKTRY Insoles basically act as a spring that you can put inside your volleyball shoe. They are proven to help volleyball athletes jump higher, and they are also one of the best possible things you can do to protect yourself against injuries. About a year ago, when I started playing volleyball as a freshman, one of the biggest issues I dealt with was injuries, especially in my knees. My knees were getting so bad to the point where it was painful to get out of bed sometimes when I woke up. But that all changed once I started putting VKTRY Insoles in my shoes and offering myself some real support when I play volleyball. You can go to the first link in the description of this video to get yourself 20% off a pair of VKTRY Insoles for yourself. I highly recommend you go check it out, as this is a product that PME Volleyball is very passionate about. And again, I want to thank VKTRY Insoles for being the sponsor of today's video. Let's hop straight back into the tier list. Next up, we have the VNL 2024 champions and the 2020 Olympic winners, France. Now, these guys are just on a whole different level, it seems. The one thing that I was so impressed with when I watched the VNL tournament in Poland was how clutch these guys were. In the first round of the tournament, they went to 5 with Italy and narrowly escaped with victory. And in the second round, the story was quite the same, as they went to 5 sets with Poland and beat them in Poland's own house. That to this day was maybe the greatest volleyball game I had ever witnessed in my life. And then when it was time to face Japan in the finals, although they did hold a dominant lead throughout the entire match, there were times, especially in the 4th set, where they put the ball away when they needed to keep Japan from taking that game to 5. It honestly seemed that as long as France was able to get to 20 points, they were going to be the victor of the volleyball match. And because of this, they are rightfully the first team that we are going to be putting in the GOAT tier. They're one of the best volleyball nations on planet Earth right now. And honestly, they're probably the front runners for most people to win the Olympics again this year. Next up, we have the nation of Italy. I was so sad to hear when I got to Poland this year that Italy did not bring their A team to the championship round. Now, I honestly don't know the hidden politics behind this choice, but what I do know is that their main core of guys were not going to be there to compete. I did, however, get a chance to see this A team compete against the United States of America in Ottawa, Canada. And when you have a 6'7" setter in Simone Gianelli and pair him with an outside hitter who is 6'11" and a lefty, you get one of the best volleyball teams on planet Earth. I'm sorry, that duo is just absolutely nasty, filthy. It should be illegal to have 2 players of that caliber on the court together. Between Simone Gianelli and Alessandro Michieletto, I think Italy has all of the components that you need in order to hold up a gold medal at the end of these Olympics coming up. And because of all of these factors, I believe that Italy currently in the GOAT tier, but just behind France, as they did lose to them with their B team in the quarterfinal. Again, what could have been a France versus Italy quarterfinal matchup. I'm so sad that I got to miss out on that, but I'm sure that these two teams will meet again sometime in the the future. Next up, we have Germany, and if I'm being honest, this was the one volleyball team that I didn't see any action from this entire VNLs. The only real thing that I know about Germany is that they have the TikTok sensation Tobias Krick on their team, who is really good at making edits of himself, like really good at it. Besides that, I don't really know a whole lot else about them except for the fact that they won 5 of 12 matches this VNLs, and I honestly don't think that they are particularly that good of a volleyball team right now, but they're not quite at the bottom of the barrel. I think honestly they rightfully belong in the D tier. Oh man, we have Japan up next, and I will say if there was one team that I was most impressed with this VNLs, without a doubt, it was Japan. If you guys watching this video ever had the opportunity to go see Japan play in person, please do, because it is so much more than the hype itself. Trust me. Japan's volleyball team is just absolutely stacked with a bunch of ballers, from Yuki Ishikawa to Yuji Nishida to Sakita running the show. It is just a beautiful volleyball offense and defense that they play on the court. They are so likable, they are so rootable, and they almost made history by winning the VNLs against France this summer, but we will get a chance to watch them compete in the Olympics as they chase a gold medal. Last year they took home a bronze, and this year they took home a silver. They're just getting better. I think that we have yet to see the best of Japan volleyball, but it is so iconic, and this team right now is so good, and they have absolutely 100% deserved a spot in the GOAT tier. I'm gonna put them behind France and Italy, but 100% they belong to be there. Next up, we have Serbia. The only time that I got to see Serbia play was against the United States in Ottawa, Canada, and I will say they're good. They're just a good volleyball team. They got a big opposite with a heavy arm, they run a good offense, and they're pretty decent in serve receive. The thing that I think they do the best is the pressure they bring from the service line, as they got a pretty good lineup of nasty jump servers. They did clinch a spot in the Olympics this year, so we will get to see them compete on that stage, but honestly, like Canada, I just think they're missing a little bit of the wow factor, although I do think Canada is currently a better volleyball team. I think their home is perfectly fitted for them in the C tier. They're not the best, but they're definitely not the worst. And right after Serbia, we have Slovenia, which I was completely shocked by this volleyball team. Slovenia literally did not make any sense to me watching them in the VNLs this year. I got to see them play 3 times this year. Once in Antalya, Turkey, as they took on the Netherlands. Once against the 8th seed Argentina, which they almost lost. And then the match that they did lose against Japan in the semifinals. They had the best record this year in the VNLs, going 11-1, which was mind-boggling to me. Because if we're being 100% completely honest, in their matches against Argentina and then what happened against Japan, they did not play in the way that you think an 11-1 team would play. They just barely managed to squeeze by Argentina, and then when they got to Japan, Japan swept them in 3 straight sets. If we're just being completely honest here, I wasn't super impressed with this volleyball team. I think without a doubt that they are in the upper echelon of volleyball in the world, but I just don't think they're quite at the top. The 11-1 record really blows my mind, because I know in a one and done type tournament anything can happen, but Japan easily looked like the better volleyball team in their matchup. I didn't even necessarily think it was close. And so with that being said, I think Slovenia belongs in the B tier, towards the top, probably better than Canada and definitely better than Argentina. And next up, we have Poland. Poland. Where do I start with Poland? The crazy thing about Poland's national team roster is that you took it and split it into 2 national teams and took those teams to tournaments to compete against the other nations from around the world. I think both of those teams would do really well. That's just how deep Poland's roster goes. Poland to me was by far the most physically demanding volleyball team I saw this VNLs. They're big, their players are all giants and have cannons for arms. Going into the championships at Lodz, Poland, I thought it was going to be impossible for anybody to beat Poland in their home court. I thought they were easily going to be repeat champions of the VNLs, but they did fall to France in a crazy volleyball match. That one was absolutely insane. In fact, that match was so good, it probably deserves a reaction video of its own. But there's a reason that Poland went almost a year without losing a national match competition. So because of that, it's so hard to determine whether they belong in the GOAT or the A+ plus tier, but I think they do belong in the GOAT tier, probably just ahead of Japan. They won like 26 straight games in a row. When you win 26 straight national level competition volleyball games in a row, you get in the GOAT tier. There's no debate there. That's just what happened. All right, getting into our next volleyball nation, we have Cuba. These guys are ballers, man. They play really hard. They're so fun to watch, and they jump out of the gym. It is actually crazy watching these guys play volleyball, because it is just crazy to see what humans are capable of on a volleyball court, and I honestly think that is just portrayed in watching Cuba play volleyball. I still think that they're just starting to enter the volleyball scene as a true competitor among these other nations, and I think once they get there, they're going to be a very intimidating volleyball team to play against. But for right now, I just don't think they're quite there yet, so we're going to throw them in the C tier. You know, we'll put them right behind Serbia. I think that's the correct placing for them. Up next, we have Bulgaria. Although their performance in the VNLs this year was quite underwhelming as they only won 3 matches, I think the future is so bright for the nation of Bulgaria. Specifically because they have the duo of Alex and Simeon Nikolov. To my knowledge, Alex Nikolov was not at this year's VNLs, but Simeon Nikolov was at all 3 legs. As a 17-year-old setter, you can mark my words right now, he is going to be one of the greatest setters in the world given 5 or 6 years when he finally reaches his athletic prime. He was doing absolutely unimaginable things at only 17 years old on a volleyball court. He absolutely blew my mind, and I think the future is so bright for Bulgaria, especially when they get Alex Nikolov back on the court, who, if you don't know, he was an outside hitter for Long Beach a couple of years ago before he made the transition to a pro team overseas. I think that duo is going to be scary, but for right now, they're just quite not there yet. And sadly, for right now, I'm going to put them in the D tier, but I'm going to put them ahead of Germany and Dancing Tobias Crick. And then we have Turkey. Turkey was this year's worst team in the VNLs as they only won 1 match throughout the entire tournament. And honestly, just right now, they're not very good, which is okay, because for you Turkish volleyball fans out there, your women's team is absolutely phenomenal and does have a real shot at winning an Olympic medal this year. But your men's team, not so much. I think it's going to be a while before this team becomes competitive. They still have yet to figure a lot of things out, and they're going to be the first team that we stick in the F tier. The Netherlands, they also only won 3 volleyball matches this year. They were a little bit underwhelming. The one thing that they really do have going for them is a really dominant opposite hitter, but besides that, they just leave a lot to be desired. But for right now, I think that's the best thing that they have going for them until maybe they're able to develop some of their younger talent to becoming really good volleyball players. I don't think they quite fit in the F tier, but they definitely belong in the D tier. We'll put them right behind the nation of Germany and Dancing Tobias Crick. And last but not least, we have Iran. And first and foremost, I will shout out Iran because one of the 2 matches that they won in the VNLs this year was against the United States of America. Huge upset right there, and one of the reasons that America was not able to make the VNL championship round. Props to Iran for knocking out the United States of America. That's super petty of you guys. That's honestly really the best thing I can say about them. We're going to throw them right in the F tier along with Turkey, but we will put them ahead of Turkey because they won 2 games compared to Turkey's singular victory. And there you have it, folks. We have our Volleyball Nations tier list for the men's national teams. We have in the GOAT tier, France, Italy, Poland, Japan. In the A+ tier, Brazil, the United States of America. We move to the B tier, you see Slovenia, Canada, and Argentina. The C tier is home to Serbia and Cuba. In the D tier, we have Bulgaria, Germany, and the Netherlands. And in the F tier, Iran and Turkey. Let me know what you guys down in the comments would have done differently with this tier list, and if you agree with my takes or not. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like it, make sure to leave a big thumbs up on it. I recently took a trip all the way across the world to Japan, where I spent 168 hours exploring that beautiful city and watching some Japanese volleyball. If you want to watch that video, I will put it on screen now. I highly recommend you go check that out. That video was absolutely amazing, and it covered part of my VNL adventures in Japan. I think you're gonna like it and should definitely check that out. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're new, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Go out there, play some volleyball. PME's out. Peace.